Good afternoon. Last class we learned about the different kinds of sites which were actually found in and which are gives a lot of information about hunters and gatherers. So such as the different sites are habitation, factory and habitation come factory sites. So now let us discuss about making stone tools. So before that, what is the meaning of sites in this text? See, the sites, I told that habitation sites, factory sites, and habitation come factory sites. So, in what way we are using this term? See, this refers to in this text, sites are places where the remains of things, which the different things were found. So that used to called as a sites. So sites are getting now. Sites are so where the remains of the where the remains of the past, where the remains of the past, especially things were found. See, where the remains of the past, the things were found now. So those areas or regions used to called as a referred as a site. See, these sites were including tools, parts, buildings, and so on so things. It may tools, it may parts, or even the buildings and so on so things. See, these were made, used, and left behind by people. These sites were made, so especially, so the sites were made in the sense, so that whatever they were used, the tools, techniques, the parts, the buildings, or whatever the things, so actually those things were made, used, and even so left behind by those people. See, these may be found on the surface of the earth, then where we can find. So, usually these were found on the surface of the earth, especially buried under the earth. So, next ಭೂಮಿಯ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಉಗ್ದು ಹೋಗಿದೆ. And sometimes even under water also. So, regarding this, we are going to learn the different sides. So, in the coming chapters. Okay, now let us discuss about making stone tools. Making stone tools. Making stone tools. See, the stone tools were probably made using two different techniques. They were used two different techniques. The first is that the first technique. So usually they were used the two techniques. Okay. So the first that is called as the first technique, stone on stone. This is what the first technique. Okay. Stone on stone means what? See, here actually the pebble from which the tool was to be made, okay, and also called the core, so was held in one hand. Another stone which was used as a hammer was held in the other hand. It is very simple then. So yeah, the pebble from which the tool was to be made, it's called the core, was held in one hand, one ತಗೊಂಡು ಮಕ್ಕಳ. So in another stone which was used as a hammer. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊಡ್ತಕೊಂಡು ಕಲ್ಲಿನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಕಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಸೊ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಹ್ಯಾಮರಿಂಗ್. So the second stone was used to strike off flakes from the first. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ, the second stone they were was used to strike off flakes from the first. So till the required shape was obtained. ಅದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಶೇಪ್ ಬರೋ ತನಕ ನಾವು ಹೊಡಿತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನ ಹೊಡೆದು ಹ್ಯಾಮರಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಶೇಪ್ ತರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ ಶೇಪ್ ಬೇಕೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕನು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ಆನ್ ಸ್ಟೋನ್. And the another one technique which is used called as a pressure flaking. Pressure flaking. So hangandre ಏನು, so here the core was placed on a firm surface, on the particular on the surface ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. The hammer stone was used on a piece of bone or stone, so that was placed on the core, so to remove flakes that could be shaped into tools. So this technique used to called as a pressure flaking. So dear students, please keep it in your mind, to make stone tools. So probably the hunters and gatherers, so they were used these two different techniques, especially the first one is stone on stone and the second one is pressure flaking. Now let us discuss about how the earliest human beings they found the fire. So how they were find out about the fire. So ಬೆಂಕಿಯ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ತಿಳಿತು? See, actually ನಮಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಬೆಂಕಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಬೂದಿ ಆಶ್ ದೊರೆತಿದೆ, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಕರ್ನೂಲ್ ಕೇವ್ಸ್. So please all of you go back to the page number 14 and look at the map number 2. So there you can see the Karnool. So a Karnool caves ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಬೂದಿಯ ಅವಶೇಷಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ದೊರೆತಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಬೂದಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಬೆಂಕಿಯ ಉಪಯೋಗವೂ ಸಹ ತಿಳಿದಿತ್ತು. They knows the fire. See, that suggests that people they were familiar with the use of a fire because there we found the ash. So fire could have been used for many things. ಬಹುಶಃ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. So for what and all, I mean the what purpose we are using the fire. ಸೊ ಬೆಂಕಿಯ ಉಪಯೋಗ. ಸೊ ಬಹುಶಃ ಆಗಿನ ಕಾಲದ ಆ ಒಂದು ಹಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾದರ್ಸ್ ಆ ಬೆಂಕಿಯನ್ನು ಬಹುಶಃ ಯಾವ ಉದ್ದೇಶಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು? ಮೇ ಬಿ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಟ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಟ್, ಬೆಳಕನ್ನಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ. ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಸೊ ಪಂಜು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ದೇವರ ಮೆರವಣಿಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರು ಅಥವಾ ಕತ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಜಮೀನಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಪರ್ಪೋಸ್? ಸೊ ದ ಫೈರ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಟ್. ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ವಲಿ ನಾವು ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕುಕ್ ಫುಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಅವಾಗೇನು ಕುಕ್ಕರು ಪಾತ್ರೆಗಳು ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗೆ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಜಮೀನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಇದು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಸುಟ್ಟು ಬೇಯಿಸಿ ತಿಂತ ಇದ್ದು ಬೆಂಕಿ ಹಾಕಿ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. ಸೊ ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಟು ರೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮೀಟ್, ಮಾಂಸವನ್ನು ಬೇಯಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ. ಅಂಡ್ ಈವನ್ ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಕಾಡು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಂಕಿಯನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅವು ಎದುರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ಟು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾರ್ ಅವೇ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್, ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಭಯವನ್ನ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ದ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಈಸಿಲಿ. ಬಹಳ ಭಯ ಬಿದ್ದವರು ಓಡ್ತವ್ರು. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸರಿ ನಾವು ಬೆಂಕಿಯನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸಿ ಸೊ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳನ್ನ ಓಡಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಸಹ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಒಂದು ಪದ್ಧತಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ವೇ ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಸೊ ದ ಫೈರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಹಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗ್ಯಾದರರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ವೇಸ್, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಟ್ and to roast meat also and even to scare away animals also. So in this way, so we means our ancestors, our hunter and gatherers, so they were used fire. So for that there was the very nice clue which was found in the Karnool caves the ashes. By that we came to know that so they are aware about the use of fire also. Now, let us discuss about a changing environment. This is very much important here, students. See, our lifestyle, our food habit, our customs, our habits, the completely, including the dress, what we are wearing. So, these are all completely decided by the environment where we are living. So, in that time, so what happened about the environment? So there we can see a environment also changed, a change of environment during the time, a changing environment. See, our lifestyle, our food, whatever we are growing, even the present day also. So completely, including dress, what we are wearing, these are all decided by the environment or weather and climate. So dear students, so around 12,000 years ago, around around 12,000 years ago, so there were major changes in the climate of the entire world. Are you getting now? So around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in the climate of the world. ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ with a shift to relatively warm conditions. With a shift to relatively warm conditions ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ವಾರ್ಮ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. So, in many areas, this led to the development of grasslands. So, because of the warm condition, it is actually not only take place not only any one region of this earth. So, throughout the world, there was a changes in the climate about 12,000 years ago. So, with the shift to relatively, especially the warm conditions. So, because of this, so in many areas, so this led to the development of grasslands. ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಆ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. See, this in turn led to an increase in the number of the deer, antelope, goat, sheep, cattle, those animals that survived on grass. So ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು ಸೊ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಹುಲ್ಲನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ಮೂಲ ಆಹಾರವಾಗಿ ಬಳಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯು ಸಹ ಯಥೇಚ್ಛವಾಗಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So because of the warm conditions when it was shifted, so automatically that led the development of the grassland throughout the world. So this in turn led to an increase of the number of deer, even antelope, goat, sheep, cattle, that is animals especially that survived on grass. Okay, major ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ okay grass ಬೇಕು. So ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಂತತಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ number of these animals so increase. And those who hunted these animals now followed them. You know that so the hunters and gatherers actually they were completely depend upon the movement of those animals also, because ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನ ಬೇಟೆ ಹಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅವ್ರ ಮೂಲ ಹುಡುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅವು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತವೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. It was a very common during that time. So now what happened? Those who hunted these animals, so they were also followed them, those animals, learning about their food habits and their breeding seasons. So now they came to know that they were understood their food habits and as well as their breeding seasons also. ಅವು ಯಾವ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅವು ಮರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಜನ್ಮ ಕೊಡುತ್ತವೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಸಂಗತಿಗಳು ಸಹ ನಿಧಾನವಾಗಿ ಹಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗ್ಯಾದರರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತವೆ. It is likely that this helped people to start thinking about herding and rearing these animals themselves. So ಯಾವಾಗ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್, ಈ ಒಂದು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್, ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರ ಸೊ ಆ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ತಲೆಗೆ ಬಂತಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ for what? Herding and rearing of these animals themselves. ತಾವೇ ಆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳನ್ನ ಸಾಕುವ ಒಂದು ಯೋಚನೆನ ತಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಯೋಚನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳ ಫುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ಸ್, ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಸೀಸನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದ ಮೇಜರ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಹಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗ್ಯಾದರರ್ಸ್. ಅವಾಗೇನು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ನಾನ್ ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಹಾಗೇನಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ವಿ ಆರ್ ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್ ಆರ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್. ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ದ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ದೇ ವರ್ ಆಲ್ ನಾನ್ ವೆಜಿಟೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಮರ ಗಿಡ ಎಲೆ ಬೇರು ಸೊಪ್ಪು ಸೆದೆ ಹಣ್ಣು ಏನ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೋ, ಗೆಡ್ಡೆ ಗೆಣಸು ಹಸಿ ಮಾಂಸ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಪ್ರಾಣಿದು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ಹಿತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೋ ತಿಂದು ಬದುಕ್ತದ್ದು. Now, so when it is likely that this helped people to start thinking about herding and rearing of these animals themselves. And afterwards, fishing also became important. ಸೊ ಮೀನುಗಳನ್ನ ಸಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು ಸಹ ಈ ಒಂದು ಗಮನಿಸಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅ ಟೈಮ್ ವೆನ್ ಸೆವರಲ್ ಗ್ರೈನ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರಾಸಸ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದಷ್ಟು ಧಾನ್ಯಗಳು ಅವರ ಪರಿಚಿತವಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ. especially including wheat, barley and rice grew naturally in different parts of the subcontinent. ಸೊ ಭಾರತ ಉಪಖಂಡದ ವಿವಿಧ ಭಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳೆಗಳು ಸಹ ಅವು ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತವೆ. ವೀಟ್, ಬಾರ್ಲಿ ಅಂಡ್ ರೈಸ್. ಸೊ ದ ಗ್ರೀವ್ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿ ಇನ್ ಅ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಸಬ್ ಕಾಂಟಿನೆಂಟ್. ಯಾರು ಅದನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ನಾಟಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿತ್ತನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗೇನಿಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. ಸೊ afterwards, men and women and children probably collected these grains as food. So the hunters and gatherers, including men, women and children, so probably they were collected these grains as food and learned why they grew, and also they learned where and how they grew, not why. So where and how they grew, ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಬೆಳೀತದೆ, ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅದು ಬೆಳೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ ಒಂದು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ದೇ ಕೇಮ್ ಟು ನೋ ದಟ್ ವೆನ್ ದೇ ರೈಪ್, ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಮೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲೆಡ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಗ್ರೋವಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದೇರ್ ಹೋಮ್. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಅವರ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಅವರೇ ಸ್ವತಃ ಬೆಳೀತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳು ಸಹ, ಆ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರಧಾರೆಗಳು ಸಹ ಅವರ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟುಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. So this is what around 12,000 years ago, whatever the changes taken place in the environment, so that the environment changes brought a lot of changes throughout the world. So even it was affected on our subcontinent also. And during this time, the hunters and gatherers, so they were thinking about herding, rearing and even fishing also, and as well as even so they came to know that where the different crops or the food grains, especially the barley, rice, wheat were growing, and they were planned and thinking to growing these plants at their own also. I hope dear students, so you may understood this concept. So whatever the changes brought by this environment, I mean because of the environment changes, when the environment it was changed in the entire world, when it was shifted with the warm conditions and the new grasslands were developed during the time, and because of the grassland we all knows that so it was even so turn and led to an increase in a number of deer, antelope, goat, sheep and cattle. So that is actually animals that survived on grass, and those who hunted these animals now followed them, and they were learning about their food habits and even the breeding seasons also. See, that's what dear students, so the change of environment during 12,000 years ago, so this is also one of the remarkable point and remarkable years in the human being history, because it was brought a lot of changes, and even the human beings, I mean the hunter and gatherers, they were start to think about all those the different things that is about rearing, herding, and even the planting, and even they were thinking about fishing also. Next class, we are going to discuss about so how these human beings and their knowledge and the capacity of thinking is developed, and whatever they were, how they were going to express, because this all depend upon the development of the human beings. So next class we are going to continue. Thank you. Have a nice day.